We turn now to former New Jersey Governor Christie. Governor, good morning. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me, Nancy. It's good to be here.
Let's get right to it. Do you take issue with former President Trump making money off of his mugshot?
Look, there's almost nothing anymore that he could do that would surprise me in terms of the ongoing grift. Donald Trump promised the country when he ran in 2016 that he would drain the swamp. Really, all he did was rearrange the swamp, rearranged it so that he could make money off of regular voters to pay his own legal fees, to pay $208,000 for his wife's stylist, and to set up a $2 billion grift from the Saudis for his daughter Ivanka and his son-in-law Jared. We see the same thing with Hunter Biden and what he's doing. We have two ruling families right now in this country who put themselves before the people they're supposed to represent. We need a wholesale change, and that's why I'm running for president.
You think Trump supporters are being ripped off when they donate?
Absolutely. When you see $40 million in legal fees in just the first half of the year, and that was before two of the indictments. These fees are only going to go through the roof. And Donald Trump maybe should sell one of his golf courses or maybe sell his apartment at Trump Tower to fund it. But instead, he's taking people who donate an average of $100 to him to try to get him to become president of the United States again. And he's using that money to pay his legal fees. It's unethical. It's immoral. And it's just another part of the grift that's been going on in Washington, D.C. for much, much too long. You look at him and you look at what's going on, as I said, with Hunter Biden and the way he was selling access to his father when he was vice president. I think that we should be tired of both of those acts.
You said at the debate, and it got a lot of attention, that candidates need to stop normalizing Trump's conduct. But you stood by him after he was accused of rape, after he praised Vladimir Putin repeatedly, after he was impeached. Didn't you normalize his conduct for a long time as well?
The conduct I'm talking about, Nancy, is the one that is the greatest threat to our country and the greatest threat to our democracy. And that was standing in front of the cameras from the White House behind the seal of the president on election night and telling people the election was stolen. And for now 3 years nearly, continuing to say the same thing with absolutely no proof and no evidence. That's the problem, Nancy. You can have policy disagreements with someone, and believe me, I spoke out at the time about the things that I disagreed with Donald Trump on. That's much different than taking classified documents from the White House and hiding them for 18 months from the government, claiming you don't have them, when these are some of the biggest secrets in our country's arsenal. It's different than undercutting democracy in the way that he was doing so, and leading to the riot we had on Capitol Hill on January 6th. I'm going to get on that stage and I'm going to tell the truth, regardless of what other people may think. That is the truth. And that's why, I urge people to go to chrischristie.com, donate to support the truth, because that's what we're standing up for.
One of Trump's 18 co-defendants in Fulton County is his former chief of staff, Mark Meadows, who you know, and he's going to be in court tomorrow arguing that his charges should be moved to federal court because the conduct in question happened when he was serving in the federal government. You are a former federal prosecutor. What do you think of that argument?
He's got an argument to make, Nancy. There's no doubt that under the statutes, there's an argument to make. But ultimately, all of these change of venue decisions are at the discretion of the trial judge here, a federal judge, who's going to be hearing that. And he's going to want to hear all the different evidence and the balancing of the interests. And these venue decisions are made on that basis. So is there an argument to be made? There's definitely an argument to be made about switching venue to federal court. But in the end, it really won't change matters all that much, except that the trial won't be televised. It still has to be governed under the state laws of Atlanta. The only thing that will be different are some of the procedural things that lawyers care about. But in the end, all of the charges must remain the same. So I think that whether Mark Meadows wins that motion or doesn't is not going to make a substantive difference on how ultimately a jury is going to be asked to make these decisions at the time of trial.
I want to move to an issue that a lot of Republican voters in particular care about, which is immigration. On the debate stage, a couple of your opponents seem to suggest that they would send troops into Mexico to fight the drug cartels. Governor DeSantis said he would deploy U.S. Special Forces. Do you think that that is a viable solution to the fentanyl crisis? Wouldn't Mexico view that as an act of war?
I think they would. And look, I see it also as an act of war by China to be sending the precursor chemicals to these Mexican drug cartels in order to make the fentanyl that they're sending up into the country. Look, I think there are ways to get this done. I think we have to use our intelligence assets. We have to be much tougher and stronger at the border to prevent people from coming through. Finish the wall that Donald Trump never finished, only built 52 miles of in 4 years. We need to make sure that we put National Guard at the border to stop those folks from coming across the border with fentanyl. I think the invasion of Mexico issue is one that sounds good on a debate stage, but I think if any of them tried to implement that part of it as president, they would find it's much more complicated than they're making it sound.
Wouldn't it be illegal to have the National Guard serving in a law enforcement capacity at the border?
No, Nancy, look, I think that what we're doing is protecting the border. They would be working with Customs and Border Patrol folks hand in hand. They can effectuate the arrests, but you obviously need greater force there to prevent them from coming over the border in the first place. And so it's a combination of the two of them. Customs and Border Patrol would still be the law enforcement agency, but they need backup. They need help. And they're not getting that right now from the Biden administration.
Former New Jersey Governor Christie, thanks so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me, Nancy. Have a good Sunday.